And now for something completely different.
Alas, the day that no one thought would ever come has arrived. The day that Matt talks about sports. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Everything is Fine podcast limited series. How are you? This is the second episode of this series. 2 weeks ago, Sean kicked it off with his inaugural How Are You segment. He talked about the best fictional mail service. And if you have not listened to that, I highly recommend listening to it. It was quite the episode. Took me by surprise and was very, very interesting. So please go check that out. Today is my first venture into one of these solo projects. And as it was teased on our last episode, which was MCU Phase 2, baseball is going to be a main talking point of today's episode. I'm really, really excited for this one. It's going to be a lot of fun. Before I get started, though, I do want to quickly give acknowledgement to my brother Kyle, who has been on this show before. You can go check out his episode. I believe that was episode 10 of Season 1. We were discussing what could potentially be my topic for one of my How Are Yous. And instantly he was like, why don't you talk about sports, do a sports episode. I was like, but I don't want to talk about like just the Mets, because for those of you that do not know me, I'm a huge New York Mets fan, and baseball is by far my favorite sport. But on EIF, we usually don't try to do a lot of like, we want to try to keep it grounded in what we're known for, movies, TV, pop culture, all that kind of stuff. And so then he's like, why don't you do something about Mario Super Sluggers and Backyard Baseball, which are two video games that my brother and I grew up adoring and almost playing every single day that we had the chance. And I instantly knew that that was a really good idea, but I also knew that I didn't want to just compare the two games because that'd be too easy. That could just be a bloodbath question. But then he's like, well, why don't you craft the perfect team from each game and have them play each other? And I was just so impressed with that idea, and I knew that that had to be my episode. So today, I'm doing just that. I'm taking two games from my childhood, and hopefully two games from your childhood, Mario Super Sluggers and Backyard Baseball, and I'm going to be crafting the perfect lineup from each game and having them face off against each other to figure out what team is the ultimate video game baseball squad. What team would win in a head-to-head matchup? So I hope you're very excited. I know I am. Let's get cracking right away. I don't want to waste any time. We're going to start with Mario Super Sluggers, which I believe is a much more popular game than Backyard Baseball. Backyard Baseball was a very long time ago. It was mostly popular in the early 2000s. Mario Super Sluggers came out in 2008, around when the Wii came out, and obviously your favorite Mario characters are there. You have Mario, Luigi, Donkey Kong, Peach, Daisy, all the fan favorites, plus a wide variety of side characters. It's a roster of about 40-plus characters, and there's a lot of people to choose from, so I don't want to waste any time. Before I get started, I want to lay down a couple ground rules for Mario Super Sluggers, because the games are very much arcade-esque. They're not really, this game especially is not really grounded in much reality. It's a Mario game. What do you expect? There's obviously going to be some crazy stuff going on. So, I want to quickly address mostly three things. The first thing is captains and star pitches. So in Mario Super Sluggers, there are 12 captains to choose from. Those being Mario, Luigi, Peach, Daisy, Yoshi, Birdo, Diddy, Donkey Kong, Waluigi, Wario, Bowser Jr., and Bowser. And those 12 players have a very, very big advantage over the rest of the roster because they have star pitches and star swings. They're almost automatic strikes if you're on the mound or automatic base hits if you're at the plate. And throughout the game, if you get hits, if you make outs, if you do good things on the baseball field, your star meter will go up, and you get a certain amount of stars to use when you're up at the plate or when you're on the mound. It maxes out at 5, so you always have a max of 5 to use at a time. And these captains have crazy amounts of advantages when it comes to these star pitches, because the rest of the roster, they just kind of have a better chance of getting a hit, but they're not like a power-up. These are very much so power-up-esque. And so on this team, you're going to be seeing a lot of captains on the team. So just a quick housekeeping there. Secondly, I want to address the concept of chemistry in the game. A lot of characters have chemistry with each other. So, for example, Mario and Luigi have chemistry. Donkey Kong and all of the other monkeys, like Funky Kong, Diddy, Dixie, all of them, they have chemistry. So, in the game, if you have chemistry with another player, your throws between each other will be much more accurate, much more fast, and you're able to also do these extra abilities. I'm going to limit these to an extent, especially the ones where it allows you to rob home runs by doing a buddy toss, where you almost throw the other person almost a mile in the air to go rob a home run. We're eliminating that because Backyard Baseball has nothing even close to that, so I'm going to be nixing that completely. However, their throws can still be accurate. I'll allow that. So chemistry between players, like if the shortstop and the first baseman have chemistry and you're trying to get a ground out, I'll allow that. But the robbing of the home runs, we're gonna try to tone that down a little bit to give the Backyard Baseball kids a bit of a fighter's chance. And then the third thing I want to address is both of these games, I'm only picking 9 players because that's what you do in the game. You don't have a bench, you don't have a bullpen to rely on. You only have the 9 players on the field at all times, and that's it. So you have to make sure you have pitching depth in your lineup besides just who is your starter. So with all that said, let's get cracking. I'm going to go position by position, and then I'm going to tell you my full starting lineup for each game, and then at the end of the episode, I'll be telling you which one will win. So, pitching for the Mario Super Sluggers All-Star team is going to be none other than Mario himself. Mario does not have the best pitching stat in the game. He only has about a 5 out of 10 pitching, but that is extremely deceiving as someone who uses him on the mound very, very, very often. Mario has great stamina, and he can easily give you 5-6 innings, which is exactly what you're going to need against a loaded Backyard Baseball team. Also, as I said, Mario has those star swings and star pitches. He's able to throw a fireball on the mound. It only costs 1 star to use, and it is basically 100-plus miles an hour right down the middle. Very, very hard to keep up with. And then his star hit is also the ball has like a fire trail coming off of it, and it's very fast, and it burns whoever it runs into. So Mario is easily a great pitcher for this game. And even as a hitter, outside of the star swing, he is a great contact hitter, and he hits for high average, and he gets a lot of extra base hits. He'll hit balls in the left center field gap, in the right center field gap, like there's no problem at all. Mario is such a great player for this team, and he's obviously going to be our team captain. Our team is going to be the Mario Fireballs. So, Mario, welcome to the team. You're going to be pitching for us. You can easily get 5 innings out of this guy. He will give you length, absolutely. Catching for us today is going to be none other than Petey Piranha, who is not a captain in the game, but I'm picking Petey Piranha to be our catcher. And this one to me was also a no-brainer. If you have played this game, you know exactly why I'm picking Petey Piranha. If you haven't played this game, you're probably saying, why on earth are you picking Petey Piranha? He's such an obscure Mario character. Well, he just so happens to be an obscure Mario character who is completely overpowered in this game. He is like... He hits dingers for days. He's a left-handed power bat, and those you absolutely need in this game. I absolutely adore Petey Piranha. He has a 10 out of 10 batting stat, which is just so overpowered. But you have to take him on your team. He's not the fastest. He only has a running out of 1 out of 10. But it doesn't really matter when most of the time you're not even running around the bases, you're trotting around the bases because you just hit it over the right field wall. He is incredibly great at, if there's people on base, you can always count on him to deliver a big hit to drive in those runs. Whether it be a very hard hit ball up the middle, a ball in the gap, a ball down the right field line, or a ball in the second or third row. So, Petey Piranha, welcome to the team. Also, another fact is that he is also not a bad pitcher for just an inning or two. If you need a quick inning, he's not the best with stamina, but he throws gas. So if you need a quick inning, put in Petey Piranha, get an out or two. He's always a good option. Playing first base is going to be Bowser. Bowser is a must-have in this game. He is another great power hitter. From the left side, again, Bowser is just incredible. His power bat, once again, is great. He's another left-handed power bat. So, similar to Petey, but he has different strengths. He's a much better pitcher than Petey, and since he is a captain in the game, he has star swings and star pitches. His star pitch is much better than his star swing. However, he's one of those players where you don't really need to use a star swing in order to get a good hit out of him. He can hit well just by himself, so there's no need to waste stars with him at the plate. Pitching, though, he throws an effing bullet bill. down the heart of the plate, and it is almost impossible to catch up to. And as I said, Bowser, he hits balls so hard that it's going to be very, very difficult for the backyard baseball kids to catch up to him and catch up to these balls either up the middle or through the gap, anything like that. And he's also a very formidable power threat. So, Bowser, welcome to the team. You are playing first base. Now, this is where chemistry starts to play a factor, with my second base pick specifically. So, you would think you would probably just want to load a baseball team up with all the best hitters. That's probably what you would think. But with this game, it's very different because you need to make sure that you have defense and you have pitching also settled with these 9 players. So with the second base spot, I'm actually going with something very, very unconventional, and I'm picking Magic Koopa, a.k.a. Kamek. Magic Koopa is going to be our second baseman for 2 main reasons. One, he's a great pitcher as well. So if Mario gets rattled in the 3rd or 4th inning and you need someone to give you length, Magic Koopa can give you that. He can probably give you 2 or 3 innings. Now, he is one of those pitchers where if he gives up a bunch of hits, he can get easily rattled, and his stamina can go down. But I trust Magic Koopa. His changeup is deadly. It goes so high up in the air, and it's very hard for the hitters to time. So Magic Koopa is a great pitcher, and the main reason why I'm putting him at second is because I think he is the best defensive player in this game, and I don't think it's close. I think Magic Koopa is insanely good. He has a magic wand that he uses as his bat and also his glove. He's able to almost summon balls. Even though they're like 5 or 6 feet away from him, he's able to summon them and bring them right back to him and catch them in the air, and it would be an out. Magic Koopa is the best defensive player in the game, and he's going to play second base for us. At the plate, it's not like I'm picking someone who is absolute crap at the plate. He is a very formidable contact hitter. He doesn't hit for power. He hits for very high average. He does have some pop in the bat. He can occasionally hit the opposite field dinger. But you're picking Magic Koopa for his glove, for his pitching, and for some contact swings here and there. Get on base for some of the big hitters to then drive him in. So Magic Koopa, welcome to the team. You're playing second base. Now on to the hot corner, third base. One of those positions where you absolutely cannot afford to have a liability defensively. You got to have someone who's able to make great throws to first and also able to snag those quick line drives down the left field line. Because as we'll see in backyard baseball, a lot of right-handed hitting. So you're going to need someone who is able to make those great plays down the third base line. That's why I'm going with Critter, who is easily one of the most underrated players in all of Mario Super Sluggers. Critter has one of the best gloves in the game, and he also has one of the best bats in the game from the right-handed side. And I'm trying to balance out this lineup because so far we have Bowser from the left side, Petey from the left side, Magic Koopa from the left side. We need to get some right-handed hitting. Right now the only righty we have in the lineup is Mario, and we need a right-handed power bat, and that's why I'm going with Critter, because Critter is able to hit the ball over the wall very, very consistently, and he's able to get you very clutch hits. By playing with Critter, if there's people on base, there's a very high probability that Critter is going to make sure that he puts the ball in play and that he at least gives you a chance to win the game. Critter hits for high average. Critter has a great glove. His diving ability has incredible range, and his arm is one of the strongest. He's an elite third baseman. So Critter, welcome to the team. Playing shortstop, it couldn't be a Mario Super Sluggers team without my personal favorite, not only Mario character, but also my favorite Mario Super Sluggers character. He's also great in this game, and that's my boy, Bowser Jr. Bowser Jr., welcome to the team. He is an elite shortstop. Great fielding. He's going to have that chemistry throw with Bowser. He's throwing it to his dad at first base, so you know they're going to have some good throws. I'm sure they've played catch many, many a time in the castle backyard. Bowser Jr., if you're wondering, he hits with a paintbrush in this game. It's kind of weird, but his swing is one of the cleanest from the right side of the plate. Again, another right-handed power bat, because this kid, even though you're mostly expecting him to hit some sharp line drives, he also has some pop in his bat, and he is able to hit it over the wall many, many a time. Bowser Jr. is a formidable batter, and he also has a great glove. Bowser Jr., I'd like to welcome you to the team. Also, he is a captain. So if you need some pitching out of him, he has his star pitch where he throws a paintball that's able to, deceive the hitter, and his star swing is also one of the best in the game. He hits a very, very high fly ball, but it's followed by a paint bomb that then stuns the fielder and falls in. And because of the amount of time that it's up there, his speed around the base paths is able to get you at least to second base every single time. Bowser Jr., welcome to the team. Chemistry, hitting, fielding, and overall presence, he's a must-have. I love playing with Bowser Jr. He's going to be on our team. Now we move on to the last three positions, the outfield. Again, the outfield, we're not counting chemistry for the buddy toss with the home run catching, and we're going to limit their throwing ability with the buddy throw and all that stuff. However, my left fielder and my center fielder do have chemistry with each other because I think they are the right choice. I'm not picking it because they have chemistry. In left field, I'm going with Birdo, another captain in the game, and another right-handed bat. Birdo is a great, great fielder. She has one of the best arms in all of the game, and her star swing and star pitch are great. Her star swing, she hits the ball with like a little pink egg, and it deceives the hitter, knocks him out. And her star pitch is lethal. Birdo has like that suction mouth where she's able to like suck things in. She throws a pitch, then it comes back, and then it comes right back at you again. It's almost like it starts, stops, and then starts again, and it's very, very deceiving and very hard for the hitter to catch up. And Birdo also has a fantastic bat. She's clearly a power hitter, and she's going to be a great addition to the team. And since we have a lot of righties in the backyard baseball lineup, you're going to need someone in left field who can make some great plays and make some great throws. Birdo, welcome to the team. You're playing left field. Center field, this was the easiest choice in the game. This was a no-brainer. This was the first one I wrote down on my notes before I started recording. Playing center field is none other than Yoshi. Yoshi is the best center fielder in the game. I'm picking him mainly solely for defense. He has a great bat, and he's a fantastic leadoff hitter, and you're going to see he's batting leadoff. He's not going to hit a lot of home runs, but he is going to get on base, and he's going to be able to steal bases as well. He's the fastest player in the game. He has a full speed bar, and his contact is also very, very good. And in center field, he's unbeatable. You can't really find a better center fielder. His speed and his tongue catch ability, it's very, very hard to get a hit on this team if Yoshi's playing center field and manning that. His only real downside is he doesn't have that great of an arm, but when you have Birdo in left and with the person I'm about to talk about in right field, the arm can suffer, and you can still survive without it. So Yoshi, this was the easiest one by far. Welcome to the team, Yoshi. You are going to be playing center field. And now playing right field. This was the last one that we needed to come up with. And I, again, think you really need to pick Donkey Kong here. I think Donkey Kong is the pick. He's a fantastic right fielder. Another fantastic arm. Almost like an Aaron Judge out in right field. He's big, but he has great speed. He has a great glove. He has an ability where he's able to climb the wall and rob home runs. And that's not a chemistry ability, so I'm allowing that. He has an ability where he's able to climb the wall and rob a home run, which is really, really cool. It has to be like just over the wall, though. If it's like a bomb into like the second deck, he's not going to be able to catch it. Also, his glove is fantastic. He's a left-handed power bat once again. He hits with a boxing glove, which I find very, very funny. So Donkey Kong, welcome to the team. You're going to be playing right field. So, to recap. Pitching, we have Mario. Catching, Petey Piranha. Our infield, Bowser's at first, Magic Koopa's at second, Bowser Jr.'s at short, Critter's at third, and the outfield is Birdo in left, Yoshi in center, Donkey Kong in right. And so, to go over the entire lineup in its entirety, we have batting first. I'm going with Yoshi here. Yoshi's going to be our leadoff hitter from the left side. I love Yoshi in the leadoff spot. I think he's great. If he can get on base and then steal a space immediately, put a runner in scoring position before the other team even knows it. Then batting second, I'm going to have Mario. Mario is another great contact hitter that can easily get on base. And then 3, 4, 5, what I like to call Murderer's Row. We have three strong, this is the only downside, three strong left-handed bats, but when we see him in backyard baseball is very right-handed heavy, so you're going to have a lot of right-handed pitchers. So in my book, it's okay to have a bunch of left-handed batters in this lineup. We got Donkey Kong, Bowser, Petey Piranha in that order. It's going to be our 3-4-5. All left-handed power bats, but they're all great. Then, following those three, at the 6 and 7 hole, we're going to have Critter and then Bowser Jr. That's going to be our 6 to 7. Batting 8th, we're going to have Birdo. And then batting 9th to then lead us back to the top of the order, we're going to have Magikoopa. So, once again, Yoshi, Mario, DK, Bowser, PD, Critter, Bowser Jr., Birdo, and Magikoopa. That's the Mario Super Sluggers team. And now we go on to Backyard Baseball. Now, this is a franchise that not a lot of people are very familiar with, and that's because they're older games. For those of you that do not know what Backyard Baseball is a game that was developed by Humongous Entertainment. The first one came out in 1997. I'm going to be using the statistics from Backyard Baseball 2001 and 2003 for my basis of my picks for this video. And basically what Backyard Baseball is, it's a roster of 30 original characters. They're all kids, and they're all Little League-esque players. But the novelty with the Backyard Baseball franchise is not only do you have these fantastic original characters that we all fell in love with, but in Backyard Baseball 2001, which is the game that I'm using, they also implemented actual real pro baseball players as kids that you could put on your team, which was an instant selling point. And I know my brother and I played the hell out of these games. They're so much fun to play. They're mostly for PC. They started then in like the late 2000s, early 2010s, making like PS2, PS3 games. They were never as good, in my opinion. The original PC games were fantastic. And Backyard Baseball 2001 and 2003, the players had the exact same statistics, and they are also the two most critically acclaimed and also best-selling of the series. So I'm going to go with those two as my talking point and the game that I'm going to be basing this off of. So, without further ado, let's get going. Pitching for us on the Backyard Baseball team. By the way, I should also say, I'm only using the original kids. Because if I could pick the pros, it would just be like building an actual baseball team, and that's no fun. I'm using the original kids from the game, so you're not going to be seeing Randy Johnson or Mike Piazza or Cal Ripken or Derek Jeter or A-Rod on this team. All original kids from the Backyard Baseball franchise. Good? Good. All right. Pitching for us is going to be Angela Del Vecchio. By far the best pitcher in Backyard Baseball 2001-2003. Her stuff is nasty. Absolutely filthy stuff. Angela is a right-handed pitcher. Most of these players are righties. But Angela has just incredible stuff. She doesn't throw a lot of heat. She doesn't really have much of a cannon of an arm. However, her precision and the breaking ball stuff that she has and her ability to get the power-ups and her stamina is what makes her so lethal. Think like a Greg Maddux kind of pitcher. Mostly control, going for ground balls instead of strikeouts. Angela is such a good pitcher to start off a game. However, as we continue with this team, you'll see there's a lot of good pitching depth on the team as well. So, Angela, welcome to the team. Her bat is good. It's not great, but it's good. And considering that she's going to be our starting pitcher, you don't necessarily need her to be a formidable hitter as well as pitcher. She can focus on pitching, and she can give you length. Because in Backyard Baseball, every time you strike somebody out, or if you turn a double play in the field, which Angela is easily capable of getting both of those done, you get a power-up. And these pitching power-ups are insane. Some of them have the ball like spin around like a vortex and you can't even see what's happening. Some of them it's just like an absolute heater down the middle, but you really can't catch up with it. And then there's obviously the pitches that like she comes with, like a changeup, a slider, a fastball, stuff like that. And another power-up that you get are juice boxes, which are able to give your pitchers more stamina and almost replenish them like it was nothing. This is something that Mario Super Sluggers doesn't have, which is why I think it's a big advantage. But we'll get into that. Angela, you're going to be pitching. Welcome to the team. Catching for us is going to be Mikey Thomas. Mikey Thomas in Backyard Baseball is basically the equivalent of Petey Piranha. I think the catching position is honestly very, very similar for both. Mikey cannot run. He's the slowest person in the game. But again, doesn't matter when most of the time he's trotting around the bases instead of running. He hits balls a mile. A mile. He's insane. Dingers for days. Mikey Thomas is going to be our catcher for the team. He's great. I always love playing with Mikey. He's always a must-have. He's really, though, going to be stuck at catcher, and that's fine, because if you need to move around players, it's okay to leave Mikey at catcher, because he's not the best pitcher as well, but his bat is almost too good to leave off this team. So Mikey Thomas, welcome to the squad. You're going to be hitting, you're going to be playing catcher. Playing first base. Now, this was a decision that I went back and forth with, but I'm going to go with Ernie Steele at first base. Now, in Backyard Baseball 2005 and the later games, Ernie Steele became one of the best hitters in the game. In 01 and 03, though, he was very much still just a contact player. However, Ernie Steele is the tallest player in the game. He is a fantastic presence. He's a very talkative kid, and he seems like the kind of kid where in real life, if this was a real team, you'd want him on your team. He's almost like a leadership presence. And he also has really good pitching stats. He can give you a couple innings off the pen, and if you move him off of first base is not a very demanding defensive position. So if you need to put someone else at first, they can suffice there, and Ernie can pitch. However, even though first is not a very defensively demanding position for the normal first baseman, Ernie is one of the best defensive players in the game, and he makes first base and almost shut down. Absolute no errors happening here. As I said, a lot of the power hitters in Mario Super Sluggers lineup are lefties, so they're going to be hitting a lot of hard hit balls to right field. If there's a sharp line drive, Ernie can jump and get it. He has those quick reflexes. He can catch it on a fly. He's able to field those ground balls really, really well. And that length of his is going to give him a big advantage when trying to field ground balls and also be able to catch and make putouts at first and make sure he gets that reach to make sure the ball gets in his glove before the runner's foot hits the base. Ernie is an elite first baseman, and Ernie is also a very formidable hitter as well. So Ernie Steele's going to be playing first base for us. Welcome to the squad. Playing second base is going to be one of the original cover athletes of the original Backyard Baseball, and that's going to be Stephanie Morgan, who is a baseball player's baseball player. Stephanie Morgan is just an all-around fantastic player. She's not necessarily all-time great at any one thing, but she is above average or way above average on every single statistical basis. Her hitting stat is very high. Her pitching stat is well enough that if you need a quick out or you need a quick inning, you can bring her in. Her contact's great. Her arm is fantastic, and her fielding's great. And at second base, with all those balls going up the middle, most likely, you're going to need someone up there that can turn double plays, that can field those ground balls, and get those quick throws to Ernie. Stephanie Morgan's a must-have. And, once again, also just a really great kid. Seems like she'd be a great addition to a team, able to boost that morale. So Stephanie Morgan, welcome to the team. Playing third base is the MVP herself, and that's literally her nickname in the game. I'm not making it up. Her nickname is MVP, and that's Jocinda Smith, a player that I have not really used that much during my time playing Backyard Baseball. She kind of went over my head, and I'm very, very sad because during the heyday when I played this game all the time, I wish I had her, because she has a full bar for hitting and a full bar for fielding. Her running and her pitching are around the 4 to 5 out of 10 range, which are fine. But at third base, as I said with Critter, this is one of those positions where you can't afford to have liability there. Jocinda has a great arm. Jocinda has a great glove. Jocinda is able to make those great plays. And needless to say, her bat is elite. And if there's people on base, she will most likely be able to drive them in, and she'll be able to make a big, big play when you need her. Come up with a big hit. Put the ball in play. Rarely strikes out. Jocinda Smith, welcome to the team. You absolutely need to be here. Playing shortstop, similarly to how I said Yoshi was an automatic check mark in terms of who's playing center field, that was me with shortstop for this team. Because if you've ever played Backyard Baseball, or even if you haven't played Backyard Baseball, the name Pablo Sanchez is probably one you'd recognize. Because Pablo Sanchez is the GOAT. And I have no shame in saying that in this game, and a reason why Backyard Baseball might be able to come out on top in the end, Pablo Sanchez is the best player between both teams, in my opinion. Pablo Sanchez, if he was a real baseball player, he'd take over the planet. Think Fernando Tatis Jr. right now, or think Mike Trout, or think Vlad Guerrero Jr. He's that good. Pablo Sanchez is the GOAT. He has a full hitting stat, he has a full running stat, his pitching is high, and his fielding is high. He is an all-around stud. And this is not just in backyard baseball, literally all the backyard games, because they obviously made backyard football, backyard hockey, all that stuff. He's usually always the best player. And don't be deceived by his, I think he's like not even 4 foot tall. He's very, very short, but my goodness, can this guy hit. Oh my God, he is the best hitter in the game. Pablo Sanchez, this was a no-brainer. Of course I'm picking you. Pablo Sanchez, welcome to the team. You're playing shortstop for the Backyard Baseball All-Stars. Now, the outfield. These, in my opinion, if Pablo's the best player in the game, I would honestly say that these next three I'm about to talk about are 2, 3, and 4. I think that these are the next runner-up players to Pablo. Playing left field, I got Ahmed Khan. Ahmed Khan was always my favorite player growing up. As much as I love Pablo, he was almost too good. He's like a god. And it's kind of hard to have a god be your favorite player. I understand everyone loves Pablo, but for some reason, Ahmed Khan always spoke to me. Ahmed Khan, man, those headphones always jamming out at the plate. Also another formidable power threat from the right side. And he's got a great glove, too. He's got a good arm out there. And he can also, he has a good glove. He can sub in at third base if you need. He can sub into the infield. He can pretty much play everywhere in the outfield except for center. Ahmed Khan, welcome to the team. Of course I'm picking you. My favorite player. The Bowser Jr. in Mario Super Sluggers is my favorite player. Ahmed Khan is that in backyard baseball. Playing center field, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is my brother's favorite player. This is one that he always had in his team, besides Pablo, and that's Pete Wheeler. Pete Wheeler is very similar to Yoshi. Doesn't hit for a lot of power, gets on base, and is the fastest player in the game. Pete Wheeler could literally bunt every single time he's up and have no problem reaching for his infield single. He's that fast. It's kind of crazy seeing everyone else in the backyard baseball game run to first and then seeing Pete Wheeler run to first, and it's just like night and day. He's so incredibly fast, and he's also a left-handed hitter, which backyard baseball does not have a lot of, and that's going to be a big downside when we talk about who would win. But Pete Wheeler is going to be our center fielder. He can cover so much ground. Again, similar to Yoshi, his arm is not that great, but you don't need to make a lot of throws with your arm if you're making every single play in center field with your glove. And Pete Wheeler has an elite glove, and he has elite speed that helps him get to balls that most center fielders can't. So Pete Wheeler, welcome to the team. You're playing center. And in right field, the big bat that every team needs, Keisha Phillips. My goodness. If Mikey Thomas is the ultimate power hitter and Pete Wheeler is the ultimate contact hitter, then Keisha Phillips is the best of both worlds. Keisha Phillips is probably the best pure hitter in the game besides Pablo. She's fantastic on all aspects. Her arm is elite, very similar to Donkey Kong in right field. You need someone in right field that can make those big throws, especially because on the Mario Super Sluggers team, with all those powerful left-handed bats, they're going to be going to right field. And Keisha Phillips is going to be there to make those plays and make those big throws, to throw those runners out, maybe trying to stretch a single into a double, or trying to maybe score someone from second with an RBI chance. Keisha Phillips will make those plays, and her bat is almost too good to pass up, similarly to how Jocinda or Mikey, yeah, they might have a deficiency with one of their stats. Keisha, for her, she's not a really good pitcher. You don't need her to pitch. Keisha Phillips is the best hitter besides Pablo in the game, in my opinion. Keisha Phillips, welcome to the team. You're going to be playing right field. So, to recap, now here I'm going to craft the lineup. Batting leadoff, Pete Wheeler. Batting second, I'm going to put Pablo in the 2-hole. 3, Keisha, and then 4, Mikey. My whole thing is Pete and Pablo will get on base for Keisha and Mikey to drive them in. And then Ahmed is going to be batting 5th to maybe clean up anything left. If Mikey doesn't hit a home run and Keisha gets on base, there's still people on base for Ahmed will be there to clean it up. And then we got the bottom of the order trying to reset the lineup, trying to flip it back over. Batting 6th, I got Jocinda Smith. 7th, I got Stephanie Morgan. 8th, I got Ernie. And then batting 9th, Angela Del Vecchio. Yeah, that's the backyard baseball team. And again, this is a recommendation. I recommend playing these games. because they're so much fun. And you're going to fall in love with these kids just like everyone who played these games has already. And again, Pablo Sanchez is the GOAT. So, we have our teams. We have the lineups. We're playing at a neutral site, just a regular old ballpark. I don't want to play at any of the backyard baseball parks or the Mario parks because that would add some unfair advantages, some home field, the crowd, and everything. We're just going to be playing at a neutral site. Both teams, 9 innings, no bench, no bullpen, just these players that I have now just selected. So, now we must decide, based off of my baseball acumen, my baseball knowledge, and also the teams in front of me, who would win a game, a 9-inning game, between these two teams and be crowned the ultimate video game baseball team. Now, there's many ways we could go about doing this. I have decided to create a sort of point system in terms of what team has certain advantages, and whatever team has more advantages, in my opinion, would be claimed the better team. So, I have deduced it down to 10 categories, and if we're tied after 10, I have an 11th. However, the 11th is a bit more complex, but we're going to see what happens here. So I have 10 categories right here in front of me, and we're going to go one by one and try to figure out what team would have the advantage in that category, and thus giving them an edge over the other. Those 10 categories that I'm going to be going through are, in no particular order, defensive depth, defensive ability, pitching depth, pitching ability / the stuff that they throw, their base running / speed, contact, power hitting, the strength and balance of their lineup, the item frequency, meaning how often items are attained, and how powerful those items are, the item usage. Those are going to be the 10 categories that I'm going to be going over today and trying to figure out which team would have the bigger edge. So we're going to start, I'm going to do that order that I just said. So we're going to start with defensive depth. Now, this basically means, obviously, your pitcher's most likely not going to go the length of the game. So when your pitcher comes out, you need spaces for them to be placed, and you need to make sure that you have a sort of backup plan, and you have people that can play in multiple positions. I'm going to give this one to Mario Super Sluggers for a number of reasons. One, Mario, the pitcher, is an incredible defender, and he can play pretty much anywhere in the field, particularly in the corner outfields or at shortstop. And hypothetically, if I was playing this game, and I think if Mario Super Sluggers was a real team, their top pitching options that they would want to go to would probably be Birdo, Bowser Jr., Magic Koopa, or Donkey Kong. Those would probably be the 4 top ones that I would pick. 3 of them are captains. They have their star pitchers, and the other one is Magic Koopa, who is a great pitcher. And those 4 people that I just named, 2 of them are middle infield, 2 of them are corner outfield. A perfect space for Mario to fit right in. You can easily switch around those players and make sure that a good pitcher is always on the mound and your defense is always set. In backyard baseball, it's quite the opposite. Angela Del Vecchio, while she's a great pitcher, has a 1 out of 10 fielding stat. She's not a great fielder. And also, most players on the on the backyard baseball team are kind of locked into their one spot. The only few players that have a lot of versatility would probably be Ernie Steele, Pablo Sanchez, maybe Keisha Phillips, but everyone else kind of needs to stay put, I think. I don't think anyone else would excel in any particular position besides the one that I already placed them in. Mario Super Sluggers has a wide array of different places to put these people. So, the first point for defensive depth goes to Mario Super Sluggers. However, defensive ability, meaning that the positions that they are initially set in and the positions that they're going to be playing for most of the game, I'm giving that one to backyard baseball, and I'll tell you why. I actually went out of my way, took time out of my day, and averaged out all the players on each team for their fielding, batting, pitching, and base running stats. Because ironically, both of these games use a out of 10 statistical basis. So it's very easy for me to figure out which one on average is better. Now, obviously, this is not the prime indicator. However, it is worth noting that the average fielding ability of the backyard baseball kids is a 6.8 out of 10, whereas Mario Super Sluggers is a 4.8 out of 10. Now, I know what you're thinking, but so then why didn't you give Backyard Baseball both fielding stats? Well, as I just said, these Backyard Baseball kids usually are really, really good at about one or two positions, i.e. a Pete Wheeler. He's great in center, can't really play the infield though, he doesn't have that strong of an arm. Ahmed Khan and Mikey Thomas, kind of slow. You kind of need to put them either behind the plate or in a corner outfield where a lot of balls are not going to get hit. They kind of are landlocked. There are a few that have versatility, as I said. However, where the players are at the current state of the lineup, whereas, you have Mikey Thomas catching, you have Ernie at first, Stephanie Morgan second, the lineup I already went through. I do think Backyard Baseball has the edge in terms of what's going to be the lineup for the majority of the game, and also the stats of the game prove it itself. I think they have much more fielding skill just where they are right now. Not necessarily fielding versatility. There's a difference. Versatility means you can play multiple different positions. Fielding skill is just your primary position. What are you best at? Can you do that better than the other team? And I think Backyard Baseball takes that. So I have defensive depth going to Mario Super Sluggers, but defensive ability going to Backyard Baseball. Now on to the two pitching options. I'm giving pitching depth once again to Mario Super Sluggers. They're taking another depth category here. And as I said, they have a lot of really good pitchers on this team that have great star pitches. And these captains in the game have fantastic stamina, so they're able to stay in the game long. And even if they get rattled, it's not going to push them off the mound as quickly as some of the Backyard Baseball kids would. Also, as I said with pitching depth, their pitching numbers throughout both games, it's only a 4.8 to a 4.6 difference between Mario Super Sluggers winning, only by 0.2, so it's very, very close. But for pitching depth, Mario and Angelo Del Vecchio are starting. But I think by far, among both teams, the best second option belongs to Mario Super Sluggers, that being Magic Koopa. And I think also the best third option belongs to them. And it's really whatever captain you want to pick. Do you want to throw Bowser Jr. in there? Do you want to throw Birdo in there? Do you want to throw DK in there? I think that they just have a lot more options. Really, the only premier pitcher on the team, besides Angela, that has a high enough stat to maybe go, okay, maybe you'll get a chance here, is Ernie Steele. He has a 7 out of 10. But that would be putting him on the mound, and you'd be taking a defensive stud and putting him on the mound where he's not going to see a lot of action. Everyone else on the Backyard Baseball team has a 5 or below. No one even comes close to a 6, whereas Mario Super Sluggers has many, many people above that threshold, including Magic Koopa at an 8, and I think he's the best option. Therefore, pitching depth, I'm going with Mario Super Sluggers. Pitching ability, that's another story. I'm going with Backyard Baseball, and you're sensing a trend here. It seems like Mario Super Sluggers has a much more deeper lineup, deeper roster, whereas Backyard Baseball has just more skill where they are at the current moment. Pitching ability, I think, easily goes to Backyard Baseball, though. If you've ever played Mario Super Sluggers, there's really only 3 kinds of pitches you can throw. You can throw a charge pitch, you can throw a softer pitch without a charge, and you can throw a changeup. And that's really it. You can move the pitches left to right, but none of them really, are breaking balls. Obviously, they have the star pitches, but I'm just talking about base pitching ability. What do they have? Whereas Backyard Baseball has a fastball. It has a left hook. It has a right hook. It has a changeup. It has a curveball. You have so many different pitching options in everyone's repertoire, especially when you're talking about Angela Del Vecchio on the mound. I mean, my goodness. She is going to absolutely light up the strikeout board with K after K after K, with how much great stuff she has. And also the Mario Super Sluggers, they haven't seen any pitching like this. They're not used to seeing left hooks. They're not used to seeing right hooks. They're not used to seeing balls go by them this fast. This is going to surprise them. And I think that Backyard Baseball takes the cake here. They just have more in their repertoire, and that's not even including items. I'm not including items here. Obviously, star pitches and the items in Backyard Baseball, they're crazy. But I'm going to give pitching ability just based off what they have to work with at the bare minimum. Backyard Baseball takes the cake. Base running ability is the next stat that I'm going to be covering. Right now, we're tied at 2-2 in terms of the advantages. Base running ability, backyard baseball. I think it's a very, very clear. You have a lot of people on the Mario Super Sluggers team that are very, very slow. You got PD Piranha, Bowser, DK, Kamek. They don't really run the ball. They don't really run the bases very well. Whereas backyard baseball, you got Pablo Sanchez, who has a 9 out of 10. You got Pete Wheeler, who has a 10 out of 10. Keisha Phillips has a 9 out of 10. Ahmed Khan has a 7 out of 10. I mean, it's just across the board, you got some speedsters that can really run the bases well. And when you have Pete Wheeler and Pablo Sanchez, they can easily steal bases for you to in the 1 and 2 hole to then set up for the 3, 4, 5 of Keisha, Mikey, Ahmed to then drive them in scoring position. I think the base running easily goes to backyard baseball. Not going to spend that much more time on it. Contact. I'm also going with backyard baseball here. I think they have a much more contact-heavy team. Now, granted, they do have Pablo Sanchez and Mikey Thomas who can hit dingers for days. However, I think contact-wise, you got Pete Wheeler, you got Stephanie Morgan, even Angela Del Vecchio has a really high batting stat. Jocinda, Ernie Steele, they're not going to drive the ball over the wall every time, but they're going to get on base for then the 2 or 3 big power hitters to drive them in. So contact goes to backyard baseball. That's their 4th win. Mario Super Sluggers only has 2. Power. In terms of power hitting, I'm going back to Mario Super Sluggers here. I think they have more home run threats, especially when you consider the fact that the majority of their power hitters are lefties, and the majority of the backyard baseball pitchers are going to be righties. It's going to not be a great pitching matchup for the backyard baseball kids. DK, PD, Bowser, they can hit the ball over the wall with ease. And that's not even including people like Critter, Bowser Jr., and Mario, and even Birdo from the right side of the plate. 7 of the 9 hitters on the Mario Super Sluggers team can give you a home run every single at-bat. Backyard baseball really can't say that as well. I think maybe only 5 could. Pete Wheeler, not really a home run threat. Angela, no. Ernie, not yet, because in this game, no. And then Stephanie Morgan, again, just a really great contact hitter. Even Jocinda Smith, to an extent, is not really a home run hitter. She's very much an extra base machine. She hits the ball hard, but I think that Mario Super Sluggers has the edge here. Lineup strength. This is including the balance of the lineup in full. I kind of teased at it just then. I'm going to give this one to Mario Super Sluggers. They have more left-handed bats in the lineup that's going to rattle the right-handed pitching of backyard baseball, especially if they can get Angela Del Vecchio out of the game early. They're not going to have that many great pitchers to face, and they're going to have a very, very well-balanced lineup. Righty, lefty, lefty. They're going to have all these great mix and matches. The lineup's never going to be one note. They're not going to be the New York Yankees where they just have a bunch of righties after another. Backyard baseball only has 2 lefties in the lineup, that being Mikey Thomas and Pete Wheeler. And that's not me screwing them over. There's very, very few left-handed batters in that game, which honestly makes sense because if you ever played Little League, no one ever bats lefty. It's kind of crazy. But I'm giving this one to Mario Super Sluggers. They just have a much more well-rounded lineup of right-handed power, right-handed contact, left-handed power, left-handed contact. You got some great hitters following up each other. I'm going to give this one to Super Sluggers, which ties it up at 4. Now we have the two item criteria, one being item frequency, and I'm giving this one to Mario Super Sluggers. It's much easier to get items in Mario Super Sluggers. The star pitches and the star swings, for one, they are pretty much attained whenever you throw a strike, whenever you get a base hit, whenever you do something on the defensive end. If you get an out, your star meter already goes up. And it takes a few of these occurrences to get a star, but it doesn't take that many to fill up your star meter and get one of them. They're much more easier to come about, whereas in backyard baseball, the only way to get a pitching power-up is to strike somebody out, and it's going to be hard to strike out the Mario Super Sluggers people. And then the only way to get batting power-ups is by either turning double plays or by getting a hit off of a power-up pitch. So that's it. There's not many options to get power-ups in backyard baseball. Mario Super Sluggers, really, if you just play a good inning, you're going to get 2 stars, maybe even 3 out of it, by just throwing strikes, getting outs, and being very productive. Now, item usage, that's another story. Because, as I said, only the captains have these star swings, meaning that 3 of the 9 players do not have access to these star swings. They're just going to be pretty much their star pitches and star swings will just be well hit balls, but it's never a guarantee that they're going to be base hits. And even the star swings and star pitches of the Mario Super Sluggers players, they're hittable if you can time it well. The Birdo one where she sucks it back in and throws it at you, you can time that. The Mario Fireball, you can time that. There's ways to do it. Backyard Baseball, though, the power-ups that they have are insane. That's why I'm giving them this one. They have a batting power-up called Aluminum Power, which basically, if you make contact with it, it's an automatic home run. They also have the Undergrounder, where the ball goes underground, and it will instantly be a base hit, and the defense does not know where the ball is going to pop up. They also have the Crazy Bunt, where you bunt something, and it just goes all over the field, and no defender can catch up with. And then the pitching power-ups are insane. They have a Corkscrew, a Zigzag, a Slow-Mo Ball, a Fireball, Spitball. They got so many great stuff. Granted, it's harder to get them, but when you get them, they are great. And that's not even also including the Juice Box power-up, which is able to replenish a pitcher's stamina. Imagine you have Angelo Del Vecchio, tired and absolutely drained from pitching, and then you get a Juice Box and you're able to get her stamina all the way back up to like 70-80%, and she's able to go another couple innings. It's kind of crazy. I'm giving that one to Backyard Baseball. Meaning that after our 10 criteria, it's 5-5, which is kind of crazy. So I'm going to do a quick tiebreaker here. Again, there's great reasons for both, and I would honestly say that both of them have a great chance of winning this game. But there is one way that we're going to deduce this, and that is going position by position and figuring out which one is better. Just player versus player. So we're going to start with the pitchers, and right off the bat, I think Angela is the better pitcher than Mario. I'm not going to include their I am going to include their batting, and Angela is a great hitter. And don't discount her hitting, because she's great. And even though Mario may have more fielding versatility, Angela's not going to have to worry about that if she's on the mound for 6 innings plus, because that means that she's going to be on the mound and the rest of the backyard kids can do their work in the field. Angela has more stuff in the tank. Angela has more nasty pitches that's going to get these Mario Super Sluggers players striking out swinging. I'm going to give the pitching edge to Angela. Catching between Petey and Mikey, I'm going with Petey Piranha. I think he's the more powerful and more dangerous hitter, and his fielding is remarkable. He has a very strong arm to second base if anyone tries to steal. Mikey's arm is also very good, but I think if you're going to be blocking wild pitches, if you need someone to make a diving catch in foul ground, if you need someone to be quick on their feet, I think Petey Piranha is the way to go. First base, if we're going between Bowser and Ernie Steele, this one's kind of easy. I'm going to give this one to Bowser. Even though Ernie is a great fielder, Bowser is just leaps and bounds a better hitter. So right now, it is 2-1 in favor of Mario Super Sluggers. Second base, if we're going between Kamek and Stephanie Morgan, this one's tough, but I think I'm going to actually end up going with Kamek here. I think Kamek is the better player. I think Kamek has better pitching, but we're not going to count that. Kamek is a much better defensive player. He's the best defensive player, I would argue, between both teams. I think Kamek is absolutely incredible in the field. And Kamek, even though he's not a power threat, neither is Stephanie, but Kamek is able to get on base at an almost absurd level by using his contact swings. And Stephanie, while she's good at everything, she's not great at everything, whereas Kamek is a fantastic defender. And so I'm giving that edge to Mario Super Sluggers. At third base, between Jocinda and Critter. This one is tough. It's very, very tough. But I'm going to give it to Critter. I think Critter is the winner here. And this makes Mario Super Sluggers now up 4-1, which is not ideal for backyard baseball, but trust me, they're going to get some wins upcoming right here. I do think Critter's the better player. I think he's a better defensive player. He has more speed on the base paths. He's a more dangerous threat in the lineup. And I think also, in terms of context, Critter is a right-handed bat following a bunch of lefties. It's going to catch the players way off guard. I feel like Jocinda is going to fall in the wayside and not be as powerful as she could be within the context of this lineup. Critter's more valuable to his team, and Critter is a much better defensive player. So Critter, you win this round. Shortstop, Bowser Jr. versus Pablo Sanchez. It's Pablo. I mean, do I even have to argue? I love Bowser Jr. He's my favorite player in Mario Super Sluggers, but Pablo Sanchez might just be the greatest video game character ever created, and he is the GOAT for a reason. Pablo Sanchez wins this round. Now we move on to the outfield. In left field, we have Berto versus Ahmed Khan. I'm going to give this one to Ahmed. I think Ahmed is a much more dangerous hitter. I really do. And defensively, they have about the same traits. They're not the fastest in left field. They both have great arms. And I think it just comes down to hitting. And I think Ahmed Khan hitting that 5-hole is a much better hitter than Berto toward the end of the lineup. She's not as great as everyone else on her team. And Ahmed is one of the top 3, maybe top 4 backyard baseball players in the game. Center field, this is tough. This is extremely tough. Pete Wheeler versus Yoshi. I'm giving it to Pete Wheeler. He's the better hitter. I truly think he is. Even though Yoshi is, you can argue Yoshi's the better fielder, Pete Wheeler also is a fantastic defensive center fielder. But I think it's the hitting. I really do. I think Yoshi sometimes hits really, really soft ground balls, soft contact. Very, very rarely does he get hard contact into the gaps, or he rarely hits a home run. Pete Wheeler can hit the occasional home run. He is a leadoff hitter's leadoff hitter. He gets on base almost at an absurd rate. I'm giving it to Pete, meaning that for the tiebreaker, Keisha Phillips versus Donkey Kong. Man, I feel so bad for Mario Super Sluggers, but Keisha Phillips is the better player. Just by the running speed and the base running alone, Keisha has a 9 out of 10 running stat. DK only has 1. Hitting wise, they're very much identical. They really are. And Keisha, for sure, is a much better contact hitter. DK's kind of either a home run or a ground out kind of guy. Very rarely does DK just get on base to set up other people. And if you're hitting him in that 3-hole, sometimes you're just going to need to get on base for Bowser to drive him in or Petey Piranha to drive him in. Keisha Phillips can get on base and just get the occasional hit, draw the occasional walk. She's a absolute threat and a 5-tool player. And I'm giving it to Keisha Phillips, meaning that I believe, based off of the fact that they have better defensive players to begin with, they have the better items to use, they have the best player in this game in Pablo Sanchez. And if you go position by position, they have more matchup victories. And I think that due to the fact that if Angela stays on the mound, which I believe she will because she has nasty stuff that the Mario Super Sluggers players have not seen, I truly do believe they won't have to worry about that defensive depth, defensive versatility. And I think that their lineup is strong enough. They have premier hitter after premier hitter, and then you have guys at the bottom of the lineup that can then circle the lineup right back to the top for Pete and Pablo. I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm going into this one. I thought Mario was going to take the cake, but I am picking the Backyard Baseball Kids to beat the Mario Super Sluggers team in a game. It would be very, very close. But I'm picking the Backyard Baseball Kids. I think that they are more of a collective team. I think they have the better advantages. They have the better items. They have the better players. And I'm picking Backyard Baseball to beat the Mario Super Sluggers team. I'll say by a score of like 7-5. I'll go with that. I think Backyard Baseball would win. I imagine Angela going about 6. You got Pablo setting the table. Pete and Pablo setting the table for Keisha, Mikey, and Ahmed. Whereas the Mario Super Sluggers team, there's too many question marks. Because Petey and Bowser and DK, they're very much one-note power hitters. And even though you have to have them on your team, they can sometimes turn into defensive liabilities, especially maybe Bowser at first base. He really can't play anywhere else. DK in right is very, very slow. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Backyard Baseball Kids. They reign supreme today on this show. So, I hope you enjoyed that. I had an absolute blast making that episode. That was so much fun. Please let us know down in the comments section if you liked it or not. Please feel free to message the show for other ideas for these How Are You segments. I have 2 more to go, so does Sean. Please feel free to message us any of your suggestions, any of your questions, comments, or concerns. And also, please continue to check out our main podcast show. Next Sunday, we are wrapping up our Marvel Cinematic Universe series with our Phase 3 episode. It's going to be a long one, I would imagine. We got 11 movies to talk about, and we have another great guest coming on to join Sean and I. And so please make sure to check that one out. It's going to be a really great episode. And then after MCU, we got a lot more great episodes planned. I don't want to spoil anything, but it's going to be a lot of fun. So please continue to check us out on EIF at Instagram for some Bloodbath questions, and also on our YouTube channel. Please subscribe, and our Spotify. Please continue to listen. We appreciate all of your support. Thank you for bearing with me while I talked baseball for almost an hour. I appreciate you all very much. Let's go Mets, and just remember, no matter how crazy life gets, everything is fine.